Welcome to the deep dive. I'm really excited about what we're digging into today. It's an idea, I think, that resonates with pretty much everyone. These
Right.
promises we make to ourselves, the truths we kind of admit to in quiet moments. But then, well, for whatever reason, we just hesitate. We put off facing them, sometimes for like way too long. Our source material for this is from the Abundance Blueprint podcast, an episode called Soulful Sundays, The Letter Waiting to be Opened, hosted by Naomi Sadiq. And honestly, that title alone, The Letter Waiting to be Opened, it grabbed me straight away. It feels like there's something hidden there. Something urgent maybe, a personal truth, just waiting. I was really intrigued. What do you think it is about that specific phrase? Why does it hit so hard?
Well, it's a fantastic metaphor, isn't it? And I think it resonates because, well, it taps into something almost universal. We all do it. We commit to something important for ourselves, a new path maybe, or setting a boundary, or I don't know, starting that creative thing. But then the actual follow through, the intentional action, it just gets delayed so often.
Yeah.
Diving into what Naomi Sadiq says here feels really timely. It kind of forces us to look at that gap, between saying something to ourselves and actually truly discovering what it means. It makes you wonder what's really going on when we know a truth, maybe even sort of mentally write it down, but then just leave it sealed, sometimes forever.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. What is this letter waiting to be opened Naomi's talking about? She makes it clear it's not like a physical letter you get in the mail. It's much more personal than that. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's a promise, right? Or a truth we've identified, a big decision maybe that we've committed to for ourselves. We wrote it, metaphorically, maybe in a moment of real clarity. We acknowledge something vital about who we want to be or what we really desire, but then it just sits there, sealed.
And what's fascinating and so kind of baffling sometimes is the psychological weight these things carry while they're unopened. The emotional significance just builds up. We're the authors. We confirm this big aspiration or this necessary change, but then paradoxically we get kind of paralyzed, afraid to actually confront what we wrote. It's not just simple fear, I think. It's often more subtle, like cognitive dissonance. Our brains, they like comfort, right? Familiarity. Even if that familiar feeling is, well, not making us happy. So the discomfort of change, even change we want, can feel more threatening than just staying stuck where we are. The comfort of not knowing, of keeping it unopened. That often wins out over wanting clarity or progress. It's a weird kind of self-sabotage, isn't it?
Absolutely. That internal battle. Your head knows what needs doing. You might have even declared it pretty passionately to yourself, but then some deeper part just slams on the brakes. So if it's this internal wiring, this brain preference for comfort, what's the key then? How do we actually unlock it? Push past that resistance beyond just knowing the letters there. How do we kind of short circuit that wiring?
Yeah, that's the big question. And the first step, like Naomi suggests, is simply acknowledging it is there. A lot of people honestly don't even do that. They bury these truths so deep, they forget they ever wrote them. But once you acknowledge it, the next step, maybe the unlock, is often about reframing that discomfort. So instead of seeing it as a threat, maybe see it as a sign of growth. A signal you're right on the edge of something important. The brain isn't necessarily anti-change, but it hates unpredictable change or threatening change. So if you can consciously frame opening that letter as moving towards a positive future, you've already thought about a future you actually want, well, then you start to align your intention with those deeper protective instincts. It's about convincing that internal guard, basically, that this change is okay, it's beneficial, not dangerous.
That's a really helpful way to think about it. Shifting from being reactive to proactive. And to make this whole metaphor, this struggle, really concrete, Naomi introduces someone specific, Andre. He's the main figure in her story and his situation. Well, it feels very familiar, right? He's a veteran. He's back home. He's navigating that really tricky transition, trying to figure out what's next in civilian life. And in this moment of clarity, he writes this really profound letter to himself, a truth, a promise. But then he just holds on to it for weeks. Couldn't make himself open. You know that feeling, right? When there's something you know you need to face, and that imaginary envelope just feels heavy, not because of the paper, obviously, but because of the sheer weight of what might be inside.
Oh, absolutely. The gravity of it.
Yeah. And it's that common thing of delaying facing our own truth. It's usually fear, right? Fear of the unknown outcome, but also maybe fear of what we already know it's going to ask of us.
Exactly.
That potential for really big, maybe uncomfortable change, that can be seriously unsettling. Andre's job seemed simple. Just read what you already wrote, but he waited, put it off, kept it at arm's length. What do you think was really stopping him? Was it purely fear? Or is there maybe some weird comfort in the potential of the unopened letter rather than the reality of what it demands?
That's a great point. It's often the idea, the difficulty, the potential struggle that freezes us more than the actual truth itself. For Andre, after military service, the whole idea of reinventing himself must have felt huge, monumental. He had the courage to write it down, sure. But then the sheer scale of what it meant rebuilding an identity, basically that probably caused the paralysis. Maybe writing it felt like he'd already done something, like a small self-deception, buying more time in that comfort zone of potential. His delay really shows our collective resistance, not just to discomfort, but also to what real commitment feels like. It shows how good we are at building these internal walls, these hesitations, even when the truth is something we ourselves wrote down.
It's like hitting snooze on your own personal alarm clock for growth, over and over again. But what's really striking, and speaks volumes about courage, isn't just what was in the letter. It's the actual action of tearing it open. That sound of paper breaking open she describes. That's the moment, isn't it? That's real bravery.
Absolutely. That sound, it signifies a choice, a pivot. It's consciously deciding, okay, I'm leaning into this discomfort. I'm ready to face what's been waiting. And think about it. Courage isn't always about facing external stuff like dragons or whatever. Often the most profound courage is internal, facing the truths we carry. It's the courage to be vulnerable with ourselves, to accept the path we've set, even if it means letting go of old comforts. Andre's act wasn't just opening paper. It was opening a new phase of self-acceptance, of deciding to act.
Right, and when he finally did muster that courage, tore open that envelope, what was inside? It wasn't a bill, not instructions, not even a contract. It was, well, much bigger. It was a promise, a declaration he made to himself. I will no longer live small. I will no longer play quiet. I will build something that outlives me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a powerful personal manifesto right there.
It really is.
Not just words, it's like a blueprint for living fully. So after making such a huge declaration, what did that actually mean for him? Like, what was the immediate effect of finally facing that truth, beyond just feeling brave for a moment? That's key, because it helps us get the real nature of the freedom that comes from this. If we connect Andre's story to the bigger picture, the freedom he felt, that sense of change, it wasn't like, boom, suddenly he's rich or his business is launched overnight. It was, first and foremost, an internal shift, an internal liberation. It was letting go of those self-imposed limits that came from, well, keeping the letter sealed, a real felt freedom from the mental chains of living small and playing quiet. Now, the external stuff followed, definitely. He started acting differently, started building things aligned with that inner shift. But the core change was emotional, psychological, a fundamental reset of his self-worth, his sense of what he could do, his agency. It really shows the massive impact these personal promises can have once we actually acknowledge them and act on them. It changes our internal world first, and then that ripples outward. It's like a dam breaking, letting all that potential finally flow.
That's such an important point. The initial abundance is internal first, and it shows that courage isn't just a one-off thing, it's an ongoing commitment. Which makes me wonder, how do we even find space for that kind of courage in our crazy, always-on world, where deep reflection kind of gets pushed aside by just Naomi Saadik brings this up beautifully with her Soulful Sundays idea. She reflects that they're not about profit, they're about pause.
Exactly. Pause.
It really highlights how crucial that intentional self-reflection is, right? Especially now, we get so caught up in the hustle, chasing the next goal, the next whatever, that we forget the power of just stopping, stepping back, looking inward, really looking.
Totally. The modern world seems designed to pull us away from ourselves. Pause isn't a luxury. It's essential for getting aligned. And that pause, as Naomi points out, it naturally brings up some pretty direct, powerful questions. She asks us, straight up, what envelope are you afraid to open? What promise are you sitting on? What truth are you delaying? And these aren't just like nice thoughts to ponder passively. No, they're a direct challenge, an invitation for some real, maybe uncomfortable self-checking. They push us to identify those deals we made with ourselves, those deep-down declarations that are still pending. It forces you to acknowledge that little nagging feeling, that whisper saying something important is still waiting. It really makes you ask, what's stopping you from even asking yourself this stuff, honestly?
Yeah, it's easy to think about those questions intellectually, but much harder to actually sit with them, feel the weight of them. And in that vulnerable space, feeling safe becomes so, so important. Naomi touches on this, which I found really profound. Every breath is a reminder. You are safe enough to face the truth inside your own letter. That really speaks to needing to create an internal space, like a psychological safe zone maybe, where you feel secure enough to finally look at these truths without judgment, without pressure about what happens next, without that fear of beating yourself up. It's about giving yourself permission, that inner okay, to be brave, to trust you can handle whatever's inside. It's like a counter message to that primal fear we talked about, telling ourselves, you've got this, you can process this.
That feeling of safety is everything. Without it, yeah, your rational brain might know the letters there, but the emotional protective part, it's keeping that seal tight, creating that internal safe space. It's about self-compassion, isn't it? Understanding that facing these truths isn't about being harsh on yourself. It's about liberation. It's realizing that opening the letter is actually an act of self-care, self-love, even if what's inside means making tough changes. It's about building resilience by knowing you are in charge of your inner peace, and you can choose to make that space safe. That allows the shift, I think, from just knowing it intellectually to being emotionally ready, which is where the real transformation happens.
So bringing it all back to Naomi Sadiq's core message, she's crystal clear. Andre's letter isn't just his story, it's ours. Fulfillment begins when you stop delaying the truth you've already written. It's this universal call to action, isn't it? A potent reminder that the answers we're often looking for real fulfillment, they're usually already inside us. Not things we need to go out and get, but things we need to acknowledge internally and then align our actions with. The search for purpose kind of ends when you realize you already define it for yourself.
And that ties in so perfectly, so powerfully with the podcast's whole philosophy. We don't chase abundance. We blueprint it. That idea of blueprinting is really potent. It implies deliberate creation, intentional design. It means actively, consciously building your life by first seeing and then acting on these truths you've written down for yourself. It's the total opposite of just passively hoping good things fall into your lap or constantly seeking external approval or stuff. Blueprinting suggests these individual letters, these personal truths. They aren't just random insights. They're the foundation stones, the structural beams, maybe even the detailed plans that shape your whole life's design. Your first blueprint might be kind of general, but every time you open one of these letters, you either lock down a core truth or you get a new vital piece of info. And that lets you refine the blueprint, expand on it, make it stronger and more accurate for the life you actually want to build.
That's a fantastic way to see it. Our lives aren't just happening to us. We're actively constructing them piece by piece every time we consciously choose to open one of those letters. It's like a living process, this constant back and forth between our deepest truths and our daily actions. Wow. What a really insightful deep dive this has been. We've really peeled back the layers on this metaphor of the letter waiting to be opened. We've looked at why we hesitate, the psychology behind it. We've explored the incredible courage it takes to finally face those truths and how that connects to real freedom, lasting fulfillment, by opening that envelope and living its message. It's really a journey from delaying yourself to liberating yourself, right? Designing your life on purpose.
It absolutely underscores the power we all have inside us, doesn't it? When we embrace our own agency, when we shift from just being along for the ride to being the architect, it's a strong reminder that the quickest path to our most authentic, fulfilled self often just involves facing and acting on the promises we've already made, not endlessly searching outside ourselves or waiting for someone else to give us the green light. The power to genuinely change our lives is waiting right there on the other side of that unopened letter. Not necessarily as one giant leap, but as a series of brave, conscious acknowledgments that build on each other. So as you think about all this, maybe ask yourself, what unique legacy are you delaying right now by keeping your own powerful letter sealed? What amazing structure, what incredible blueprint for your life is just waiting to be built? If you'd only tear open that seal and finally read your own truth.